Hey everyone, and welcome back to Speak Better English. I'm Eric.
And I'm Lucy. It's great to be back.
So glad you could join us again. Today's episode is, well, it's all about a really real part of life. We're talking about problems, stress, and yeah, those tough decisions.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes, life feels like a breeze. But then, bam, everything seems to happen at once. You've got issues at work, huge choices to make, and then all the little annoyances on top. It can really feel like a lot to handle.
And so today we're going to arm you with the English you need to talk about those very moments. Here is the plan for today's episode. First up, we'll have a listen to a short chat between Margot and John. They'll be using some real, everyday English, and you're going to catch a ton of useful phrases about stress, confusion, and, yeah, those tough decisions.
Right. Then, after you've heard the dialogue, Eric and I will jump back in and explain each key word and phrase, nice and slow and super clearly. We'll break down what it means, give you some straightforward examples, and maybe even tell a few of our own stories to, help make them stick in your memory.
And please, remember, don't sweat it if you don't understand everything on the first listen. That's perfectly okay. You can always hit pause, rewind a little, and listen again. So, are you ready to jump in and hear how Margot and John navigate a really tough week?
Let's dive into the dialogue.
Oh, John, honestly, my brain is just a complete mess today. I feel like I'm in such a muddle. Gosh, nothing feels clear up there in my head. Everything is just all mixed up.
Oh no. Margot, what's going on? Is it something at work?
Well, yeah, work and also just life, I guess. At this very moment, I'm facing this massive dilemma. I've been given 2 job offers. And they're both good, just in completely different ways, but I can't make a choice.
Wow, okay, that's a big deal. So tell me, what are the jobs like?
Okay, so one job, it pays really well. It's with a huge company, great salary, the whole fancy office thing. But the work itself sounds, oh my gosh, so boring. Like just spreadsheets and reports all day long.
Yeah, not exactly thrilling stuff.
Exactly. Then the second job, well, it sounds incredible. I'd be working with people, planning events, even traveling sometimes. I honestly think I would love the actual work, but, and it's a big but, the pay is so much lower. So now I'm completely stuck in this dilemma, money or passion, stability or actual happiness.
The classic dilemma. Wow. That's a tough one.
It really is. And then on top of all that, my current job is just making everything 10 times worse. They just keep piling more and more tasks on me. No extra money, of course, no help. I feel like I'm in such a tight corner, like I can't move in any direction without hitting a wall.
Ugh, that's just awful. Small problems like, I don't know, losing your keys or missing a bus by a second, those are what I'd call mildly irritating. Annoying, sure, but you get over it pretty quickly. But what you're going through, that sounds intense. Annoying in a different way. It's the kind of stress that it sits with you all day long,
Yeah, and now every tiny little thing makes me want to scream. Someone at work left dirty dishes in the kitchen sink yesterday, and I honestly almost cried about it. It's like my patience is just gone. To be honest, sometimes I just want to take a back seat for a bit. Stop trying to fix everything all the time. Just let someone else deal with the chaos.
Yeah, and that's totally okay sometimes. You don't always have to be the one driving, Sometimes just stepping back a bit is what helps you finally take a breath.
Maybe you're right. And I am trying to stay positive. I keep telling myself that just maybe I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel? Like perhaps this whole crazy period will be over soon.
I'm sure it will be. You're a strong person, Margot. But you are right. You do have to make a decision pretty soon. Otherwise, you might come to a dead end, a point where neither job is on the table anymore.
Exactly. That is my absolute biggest fear. If I put this off for too long, I lose both options, and then I'm stuck in the exact same old, miserable place.
So maybe the first step is to get to the bottom of things. Like, really, find out the actual truth about both of these jobs. Ask the tough questions. See if you can talk to people who are already working there. Get some real answers, not just the stuff they feed you in interviews.
That's a really good idea. I think I will email both companies and maybe even try to call someone who works there. I want to know what a real day in that job actually looks like.
Exactly. And you also need to sort of get a grasp of what really matters the most to you.
Yeah, like I need to properly sit down and really think, is it better to have more money but feel bored out of my mind every day, or have less money but, feel excited and proud of what I'm doing?
That's it, exactly. No one else can give you the right answer. But I promise, once you get a grasp of what your heart is really pulling you toward, the decision will feel, it'll feel easier.
Thanks, John. Gosh, honestly, just talking this through is helping me already. My brain still feels a bit jumbled, but at least I can see a path forward now.
Good. You're doing all the right things. Take your time with it. Ask the questions. Listen to your gut. You're so much stronger and smarter than you give yourself credit for, Margot.
Thanks. Wow, I really, really needed to hear that today.
Anytime. That's what friends are for, right?
Oh, poor Margot. Wow. That sounded like a really difficult situation to be in. She had so much stress and, gosh, so many huge decisions to make. But on the bright side, it's great for us because we heard a ton of useful phrases in that little conversation.
Exactly. And now is the fun part, where we're going to go through those words and phrases piece by piece. Let's begin with the very first thing Margot said. She said she was in a muddle. Now, when you're in a muddle, it doesn't just mean you're a bit busy. It means your mind feels completely chaotic. You're confused, you're not sure what to tackle first. Everything just feels, jumbled up.
Exactly. It's like when you have so many thoughts and to-do items just flying around in your head that you can't even figure out what's actually important anymore.
Oh, I remember last year when I moved to a new city. It was utter chaos. New apartment, new job, new neighborhood. I was completely in a muddle for weeks. I remember one day I tried to go grocery shopping, and I literally ended up walking in circles for almost an hour because I couldn't find the supermarket. And then I realized I'd left all my important documents at home. My passport, my ID, everything. It honestly felt like my brain had just shut down.
Oh, that sounds exactly like me. When I started my very first teaching job, oh my goodness, I remember waking up at 5 a.m., frantically trying to get everything ready, my lesson plans, books, coffee, and I would always forget something. One day, I even left my house wearing 2 completely different shoes. I was in such a muddle that my students noticed before I did.
It's that feeling where your body is moving, but your brain is, like, running 10 minutes behind trying to catch up.
Totally. And it's so important to know that being in a muddle doesn't mean you're lazy or, bad at what you do. It just means life has thrown a bit too much at you all at once. And your mind needs a moment to catch up.
Yeah, it really does happen to everyone. And it's a wonderfully natural, friendly phrase. You can easily say things like, I'm in a muddle. I don't know where to start. Or, she's in a bit of a muddle because she has 5 deadlines this week.
It's a little bit funny sometimes, too, especially when you say it about yourself or your friends.
Absolutely. And it's a lot nicer than just saying, I'm confused. It shows that you're overwhelmed, but in a way that people can really understand and maybe even smile about.
All right, so next up, Margot said she was facing a dilemma. Now, let's slow down a little here. A dilemma is when you have two choices, but neither one is particularly easy. It's not like you have one obviously good choice and one bad one. No, it's that both options have something good about them and something bad. And when you're facing a dilemma, it is incredibly hard to decide.
Yeah. And what's kind of interesting is a dilemma doesn't always have to be about these huge life-altering things. I mean, sometimes it is, like deciding to move to a new country or stay where you are. But sometimes it's, smaller, like choosing between two friends' birthday parties when they're on the exact same night.
Yeah, that's true. But whether they're big or small, dilemmas always make you feel stressed because, well, you don't want to make the wrong call. I can still remember one of the first really big dilemmas I ever had. I was just about to finish university, and I got two offers. One was to work at this famous company in London. Super exciting, everyone would be so impressed. The other offer was to stay closer to home at a much smaller company, but I would have had more time for my family and my hobbies. I cried about it one night. It just felt so heavy because I knew that whatever I chose, I was going to miss out on something important.
I know that feeling all too well, Lucy. When I moved abroad for a teaching job, it wasn't a simple choice either. I loved my family, my friends. I didn't want to, just leave them behind. But at the same time, I was desperate for an adventure. I was totally facing a dilemma for weeks on end. I even made one of those big lists, pros and cons, but the list didn't really help much because my heart and my head wanted completely different things.
Exactly. And that's another key thing. Sometimes your head is telling you one thing, and your heart is screaming something else. And that is what makes a dilemma so incredibly hard. It's not just about logic, it's also about emotions.
Yeah, and you'll find that people around you will want to give you advice. But it doesn't always help, does it? Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with the choice you make.
Absolutely. And that's precisely why we say you face a dilemma. Because it feels like you are standing right in front of something huge and difficult. You can't run from it. You have to deal with it.
So when you want to use this phrase, you could say things like, I'm facing a dilemma about moving to a new city. Or she's facing a dilemma between studying abroad and getting a new job. And if you want to make it even simpler, you can just say, I'm in a dilemma. I'm in a dilemma. Or she's in a dilemma about what to do next.
All right, next up, Margot said she was in a tight corner. Now, this is a really, really great phrase. When you say you're in a tight corner, it means you feel stuck in a difficult situation. You don't have much room to move. You don't have many choices left. It's like being physically in a small, uncomfortable place, and you can't get out easily.
Yeah. And it's not just about feeling a bit uncomfortable. It's about feeling, trapped. Like, whatever you decide to do, it's going to be hard. I remember once, pretty early in my career, I was working at a school where the manager gave me two basically impossible tasks. One task had to be finished that very day, and the other needed to be done before noon. But there was just no physical way to do both. I was completely in a tight corner.
Oh, wow. I can just imagine. And the worst part is, when you find yourself in a tight corner, you often feel so alone, like no one is on their way to rescue you. You have to figure out a way out all by yourself.
Exactly. And sometimes it's not even about work. I remember when I was younger, I borrowed my friend's bike and I accidentally scratched it. Not a huge scratch, but still, it was noticeable. I didn't have enough money to fix it, and I felt just terrible. I was in a proper tight corner. Do I tell him right away and, risk him getting really angry? Or do I wait, save up money quietly, and fix it without telling him? Neither of those choices felt good at all.
Oh, I had something similar happen to me too. Once I promised two friends that I would help them move house without checking my calendar first. Then I realized they both needed me at the exact same time, same day. I couldn't be in two places at once. I felt so trapped and so guilty. That was definitely a case of being in a tight corner.
And that's the thing, isn't it? When you're in a tight corner, you usually feel stressed, guilty, and pressured all at the same time. It's not fun, but it for sure happens to everyone.
Yeah. And it's such a descriptive and useful phrase to describe that exact feeling.
So here are some examples you can use in your own life. I'm in a tight corner at work. I have two massive deadlines today.
He was in a real tight corner after losing his passport while he was abroad.
And here's another one. She's in a tight corner because she promised way too much to too many people.
And you don't even have to explain the whole story. Sometimes just saying, look, I'm in a bit of a tight corner, helps people understand that you need a little bit of patience or maybe some support.
Absolutely. It's a simple but really powerful way to ask for some understanding when life just feels really, really difficult.
All right, let's next chat about two great ways to describe different kinds of problems: mildly irritating and intensely annoying.
So first, mildly irritating. This means something is, just a little bit annoying. It's not a major problem. It bothers you for sure, but you can still kind of smile about it or move on pretty easily.
Exactly. Like when you spill a tiny bit of coffee on your shirt right before you leave for work, or when the bus is late by, say, 5 minutes. It's not the end of the world, is it? It's just mildly irritating.
I remember one time I was running late for a meeting because, and I'm not kidding, every single traffic light turned red just as I got to it. Every single one. It wasn't a disaster, of course, but it was definitely mildly irritating. I remember just sitting there in my car and laughing because it was so ridiculous.
Yeah, or like when your phone battery dies just as you're about to take a perfect photo. Not a huge problem in the grand scheme of things, just enough to make you sigh and go, come on.
Exactly. Now, on the other side of the coin, we have intensely annoying. And this means something that really genuinely makes you angry or very, very frustrated.
Yeah, intensely annoying is when a small thing keeps happening over and over again, or when it starts to feel personal, like it's specifically attacking your peace of mind. For example, I once lived in an apartment building where my upstairs neighbor would play really loud music at 2 in the morning every single night for a week. The first night, it was just mildly irritating, but after the third night, oh, it became intensely annoying. I couldn't sleep. I was so angry. I went out and bought earplugs.
Oh no, I had something just like that too. When I lived in a shared house at university, one of my housemates used to leave dirty dishes in the sink for days on end. At first I thought, okay, maybe he's busy. But after a week, oh my goodness, it was intensely annoying. Every time I wanted to cook, there was no space because of all his mess.
Yeah, see, that's exactly the kind of thing that goes from being a small problem to this is driving me absolutely crazy.
All right, now let's talk about another really, really useful phrase, to take a back seat.
Yeah, when you take a back seat, it means you stop trying to be the leader. You stop trying to control every little thing. You kind of step back and let someone else take charge for a while. It's it's like being in a car. The driver is up front making all the decisions. If you take a back seat, you're just sitting there and watching, not actively driving.
Exactly. And sometimes it's not because you're being lazy or you don't care. It's because you're just exhausted, or maybe you feel like someone else can handle it better for a bit. And that is perfectly okay.
Totally. I remember when I was planning a big family party a few years ago. At first, I was trying to organize every single detail: the food, the decorations, the music, even the parking. It got so stressful that I couldn't enjoy any of it. So one day, I just said, you know what? That's it. I'm going to take a back seat. And I just helped out where they told me they needed me. And honestly, the party was so much better because I wasn't running around trying to control everything.
I love that. I have a similar story too. When I was working on a big group project at university, at the beginning, I tried to manage the whole thing, when we were going to meet, who was writing the emails, all of it. But it just got to be too much. I was stressed. I was getting cranky. And, well, the team wasn't very happy either. So I decided to take a back seat for a while. I let someone else lead the next meeting. I still helped, of course, but I wasn't trying to be the boss anymore. And you know what? Everything went so much more smoothly after that.
So when you use this phrase, it's a wonderful way to say, I'm letting others lead now, or I'm giving myself a little break from making all the big decisions.
All right, now for a really, really hopeful phrase, to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I just love this one. It means that even though you are in a really hard, dark, difficult time, you're starting to see that things are going to get better. There is hope on the horizon. You're not out of the woods yet, but you can finally see that the bad days are coming to an end.
Exactly. It's just like when you're in a long, dark tunnel, and then finally, way up ahead, you see a little speck of light. You know you're getting closer to the exit. You're not stuck in there forever. And I remember a time in my life when this phrase really, really resonated with me. When I was doing my master's degree, there were weeks where I had essays, exams, and presentations all at once. I barely slept. I felt so tired and so stressed out. I honestly thought I wasn't going to be able to finish. But then, when the last few days of the semester finally arrived, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I knew the hard work was almost over, and summer was right around the corner.
Oh, I had a time just like that too. It was when I was saving up money to go traveling. I worked two jobs, teaching in the morning and waitressing at night for months. It really felt like all I did was work, sleep, and work again. But one day, I looked at my savings account and I realized I'm almost there. That was my light at the end of the tunnel moment. It gave me so much energy to just keep going for those last few weeks.
Exactly. It's so powerful when you finally realize the bad part isn't going to last forever. There is an end in sight, and it's getting closer every single day.
So, when you want to use this phrase, you can say things like, after months of job hunting, I finally got an interview. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Or, the house repairs are almost finished. There is light at the end of the tunnel. It's your turn, Eric.
Yeah, it's been a tough year, but I feel like I'm finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
It's such a positive way to talk about tough situations. It reminds you, don't give up. Good things are on their way.
All right, now let's talk about a phrase that feels a little heavier, to come to a dead end.
Yeah, when you come to a dead end, it means you can't move forward any further. You've reached a point where there's just no more options. It's just like when you're driving down a road and then suddenly the road just stops.
There's no way forward. No way to continue. You have to stop the car and turn around.
Exactly. And in life, this happens too. You might be working really hard on a project or chasing a particular dream, and after a while, you realize this just isn't going to work. You've come to a dead end.
I remember once I spent months and months trying to organize a study trip for my students. I emailed companies, talked to schools abroad. I tried everything. But in the end, the visa rules suddenly changed and it became impossible. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't fix it. We had come to a dead end. The trip was over.
That must have been so frustrating. I had a similar experience when I tried to learn how to code. At first, I really loved it. I was, learning to build websites, little apps, things like that. But after a few months, I realized it wasn't for me. I wasn't excited about it anymore. I wasn't really improving, and I wasn't happy. I had come to a dead end with it. And that was okay. Sometimes you just realize you need to change your direction.
Exactly. Coming to a dead end doesn't automatically mean you failed. It just means that particular path wasn't the right one for you, and now you're free to find a new road. So, when you want to use this phrase, you could say, I tried to fix the relationship, but we just came to a dead end. Or, after months of trying, the company realized they had come to a dead end with that strategy. Or maybe, sometimes you just have to accept when a project has reached a dead end.
It's a little sad when it happens, but it's also a new beginning. A dead end just means it's time to start looking for a new path.
All right, now we move on to a really, really important phrase, to get to the bottom of things.
Yes, when you get to the bottom of things, it means you find the real, true cause of a problem. You don't just look at what's on the surface, you dig deeper, you ask a lot of questions, you investigate, you find out what's really going on underneath.
Exactly. It's like when there is a mystery or a problem, and, well, you don't just guess what the answer is, you really want to know the truth, the real story. I remember once at school, our team's project kept getting bad marks. We thought we were doing okay, but something just wasn't right. At first, we just complained and said, oh, the teacher's just too strict.
But then we decided to really get to the bottom of things. We actually went and asked the teacher for detailed feedback. And it turned out we weren't following the instructions exactly. We were missing all these small but important details. Once we understood that, we fixed it and our grade went right up.
That's a fantastic example, Eric. I had something like that happen too when I was working at a language school. All of a sudden, a few students just stopped coming to class. At first we thought, maybe they're just being lazy. But the manager said, no, let's get to the bottom of this. So we called the students and asked them what was going on. It turned out the problem was with the bus schedule. The bus times had changed and it was making it really hard for them to get to school on time. Once we knew that, we helped them organize some carpooling. And the students came back. See, if we had just guessed, we would have blamed the wrong thing. But by getting to the bottom of things, we found the real answer.
Exactly. So you can use this phrase anytime you want to say, I'm not just guessing here, I'm going to find the truth. All right, and here is the final phrase that we're going to focus on in today's episode, to get a grasp of. Now, when we say we need to get a grasp of something, it means we want to really, truly understand it. Not just a little bit, but properly, clearly, fully. You want to have a good, strong understanding of it.
Yes, it's like when you first hear about a new concept and you feel completely lost. It's all a bit blurry. But after you read a bit more, listen more, and maybe practice a little, you start to get a grasp of it, and then suddenly it all makes sense.
Exactly. I remember when I first started learning to drive. At the very beginning, everything felt so confusing. The pedals, the mirrors, the road signs. I couldn't even imagine doing all of those things at the same time. But after a few weeks of practice, it started to click.
I started to get a grasp of driving, and I thought, okay, I think I can actually do this.
Oh, that's such a perfect example, Eric. I had a similar feeling when I first learned how to teach English grammar. In the beginning, my gosh, it was so hard. All the rules, the tenses, the exceptions, it felt impossible. I could copy the rules from a book, sure, but I didn't really understand them. It wasn't until I actually started teaching real students, and answering their real questions that I finally got a proper grasp of it. And it felt amazing. I felt confident about it for the very first time.
Yeah, it's that wonderful moment where your brain just goes, now I understand. It doesn't feel heavy and confusing anymore. It feels lighter.
Exactly. And getting a grasp of something doesn't always happen in one day. Sometimes it takes days, weeks, even months. And that is totally and completely normal.
Yeah, and it's so important not to give up because at first everything feels difficult, but little by little you get a grasp. You start to feel stronger and more in control. So how can you use this phrase in your daily life?
Well, you can say things like, I'm still trying to get a grasp of my new job. Or, it took me a while, but I finally got a grasp of Spanish grammar. Or, he needs to get a grasp of the basics before moving on to harder topics.
Exactly. So just remember, when you get a grasp of something, you move from confusion to clarity, from feeling lost to feeling strong and sure.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. We really, really hope you enjoyed exploring all these powerful expressions with us.
Thanks so much for being with us, and until next time, keep practicing, keep smiling, and keep on learning.
This has been Speak Better English.
Your space to grow with real, natural English. See you next time.
Bye for now.